The night didn't feel right. It was too quiet, too still, the kind of silence that doesn't comfort but warns. The kind that lingers in the air like something unfinished, something waiting. And for those who had already witnessed the strange farewell of Yu Menglong, that feeling wasn't new. It was familiar, like a story that refused to end, like a scene that had already been written but not yet revealed. Because this time, it wasn't about what happened at the funeral. It was about what happened after. And it began with a phone call. 3 days after his burial, when the world had already begun to settle into a quiet, uneasy acceptance, one of his closest friends received a call that would change everything. It was late, just past midnight, when his phone lit up in the darkness. At first, he ignored it. Grief had drained him, sleep had barely come, and the last thing he expected was anything unusual. But then the phone rang again, and again. Reluctantly, he reached for it and froze. The caller ID showed a name he never expected to see again. Yu Menglong. At first, he thought it was a glitch. A delayed network issue. Something explainable. Something normal. But nothing about what followed was normal. He answered. Hello. Silence. Not the kind of silence filled with background noise, but absolute silence. No breathing. No static. Just emptiness. Then click. The call ended. His heart raced. His mind searched for logic. Maybe someone had his phone. Maybe it was a mistake. But before he could process it, the phone rang again. Same name. Same number. Same impossible reality. By morning, he wasn't the only one. Messages began to spread quietly at first, then rapidly. Another friend reported the same thing. Then a colleague. Then someone from his former management team. All of them received calls. All of them saw the same name. All of them heard nothing. Some described faint echoes, like distant movement. Others claimed they heard something almost like breathing, but too distorted to be human. And a few refused to speak about what they heard at all. Fear began to grow. Because this wasn't random. It was targeted. What made it worse was the timing. Every call happened at exactly 3:17 a.m. The same time that had already appeared once before, during the funeral, when the lights flickered and the clock froze. The same time whispered in rumors surrounding his final moments. It was no longer coincidence. It was a pattern. One particular incident stood out above the rest. A former co-star, someone known for being calm and composed, decided to record the call when it came in. He had heard the stories, dismissed them at first, but when his own phone lit up at 3:17 a.m., he knew he couldn't ignore it. He hit record, then answered. For a few seconds, nothing. Then a sound. Faint. Unclear. But undeniably there. It wasn't a voice. It wasn't words. It was something in between. Like a whisper trying to form but failing. The recording cut off abruptly. When he tried to play it back later, the file was corrupted. Unusable. Gone. As more stories surfaced, investigators tried to step in. Phone companies were contacted. Records were requested. Data was analyzed. And that's when things became even more disturbing. According to official logs, no calls were made. No outgoing signals from his number. No incoming records on the receiver's devices. Nothing. It was as if the calls never existed. And yet, dozens of people had experienced them. At the same time, with the same details. Theories exploded across the internet. Some claimed it was a technical anomaly, a rare glitch in the network. Others believed someone had cloned his number, orchestrating a cruel psychological attack. But those explanations didn't satisfy everyone. Because of one detail. The script. Yes, that script again. The same mysterious document that had already mirrored events surrounding Yu Menglong's death and funeral. Buried within its pages was a scene many had overlooked before. After the silence, the calls will begin. They will hear him, but he will not speak. When fans revisited that line, comparing it to the reports flooding in, the connection was impossible to ignore. It wasn't just similar. It was exact. Fear turned into obsession. People who had never known him began waiting at 3:17 a.m., staring at their phones, hoping or fearing they would receive a call. Some claimed they did. Others claimed they didn't, but heard something else instead. A faint ringing in their ears. A distant echo. And then there were those who insisted the calls weren't coming from the phone at all, but from somewhere closer. Somewhere inside the room. One of the most chilling accounts came from a fan who had never met him. She claimed she received the call without ever having his number. When she answered, she didn't hear silence. She heard a single breath. Then a whisper. Don't trust. The line cut off before the sentence could finish. When she tried to call back, the number no longer existed. But the story didn't end there. Because one night, something happened that changed everything. A group of his close friends decided to gather together, determined to face whatever was happening. They stayed in one room, phones placed on the table, recording devices ready, waiting for 3:17 a.m. The seconds felt longer than ever. 3:16, 3:17, and then, all the phones rang. At the same time. Not one, not two. All of them. The room filled with the sound, overlapping, echoing, unbearable. No one moved at first. Then, slowly, one of them picked up. And this time, it wasn't silence. It was a voice. Faint, distorted, broken, but unmistakably human. They leaned closer, hearts pounding, fear locking them in place. The voice struggled, like it was trying to push through something heavy. And then it said, it wasn't over. The line went dead. Every phone. At once. No one spoke for a long time, because deep down they all understood something had just changed. This wasn't just random anymore. This wasn't just echoes or glitches. This was communication. Or, at least an attempt. The next morning, none of the recordings worked. Files were missing. Audio was blank. Devices showed errors. It was as if whatever had happened didn't want to be captured. Didn't want to be proven. Only experienced. After that night, the calls began to fade. Less frequent. Less intense. Until one day they stopped completely. No more ringing. No more unknown calls. No more whispers in the dark. Just silence. But this silence wasn't comforting. It wasn't peaceful. It felt final. Like something had reached its end. Or delivered its message. And then, just when people thought it was over, the script appeared again. Updated. Changed. With one final addition at the very end. When the calls stop, the truth has already been heard. Now, no one knows what to believe. Was it grief playing tricks on the mind? A perfectly timed series of coincidences? Or something far more unsettling? Something that began before his death, unfolded during his funeral, and reached out one last time through a ringing phone in the middle of the night. Because if there's one thing that still haunts everyone who experienced it, it's not the silence. It's not the whispers. It's not even the mystery. It's the memory of seeing his name appear on the screen. Clear. Impossible. Undeniable. And the feeling that maybe he was trying to say something, but whatever it was, never fully came through. Skull.